Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited. I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. Some 95% of the people that listen to our calls do, in fact, listen to the replay. So even though we do not have that many people on the actual live call, we are always inundated on Fridays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from people that have listened to the replay. And, of course, we always welcome those calls and are happy to assist them in any way. We have a standard format with our calls. We like to move quickly through the call, bottom line the information for you. We spend a few minutes talking about the situation in Iraq, and we continue to believe that the Iraqi dinar is the base currency for the potential reset of these other currencies. A few minutes talking about the program we've put in place to assist you, and then we go to a brief Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about the situation as it exists in Iraq. And, of course, the situation there now and for the last couple of months has been extremely fluid, so it's something we try to track on a daily basis. But first, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the purchase or sale of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information that we think is most relevant. And, of course, the most relevant piece of information for those of us that hold the dinar and these other currencies is the window for the potential reinstitution of the dinar. There is still the possibility that the dinar will revalue this quarter. For a lot of reasons, it doesn't make sense for the reinstitution to go beyond March, and we'll get into the rationale for that right now. First, let's talk a little bit about the political situation as it exists in Iraq. And again, things are fluid there. There is a scheduled vote for the confirmation of Alawi's cabinet tomorrow on Thursday. Now, it's been postponed several times for a variety of reasons. There are three potential outcomes. One is that there will be the passage of all of the ministers of the cabinet. Two, that all or a substantial number of them will be denied a confirmation. And three, the vote will be postponed. I really don't know what's going to happen, but in my opinion, it's at least 50-50 that it gets postponed. The reason being that there is some dispute, as there always seems to be, about some of the ministers, and so some behind-the-scenes bargaining may have to be done. Now, some of the pressure to get this done is coming from a variety of sources. One, we know that they have put in place the secret vote provision or procedure, and this is done primarily to negate threats from Iranians who demand that Iraqi officials vote in a manner that's consistent with their requests or demands, and of course that's completely inappropriate. So while the secret vote I'm certainly not a fan of, under the circumstances I can understand why it would be considered. And the other issue is that the protesters are planning a rather substantial march in the green zone if this thing keeps getting kicked, the can keeps getting kicked down the road. So let's hope that either we have the passage of the cabinet tomorrow, or we get reasonably close so that if there is a postponement, even if it's for as long as a week, all of those issues can be resolved. There is also the issue of the 2020 budget. That's scheduled for presentation to the Parliament in mid-March. So obviously they're going to want to get their government in place before they have such an important vote as to the passage of the 2020 budget. Then there is the CBI operations and the progress with the currency reforms. Well, we know that the project for the deletion of the zeros is complete. We know that the CBI wants to release the lower denoms, including the $100 notes that are being held by the 8 regional banks. The CBI and the Finance Committee are currently working to identify the families that will be eligible for the oil stipend from the revenue from the sale of oil. Now, I see no way those payments are made without the reinstitution of their currency. If they start making massive payments at the 1180 rate, it would be an absolute nightmare to even attempt for the Finance Committee to recalibrate the budget at the newer rate. So the fact that they've gotten beyond the project to delete the zeros and the release of the lower denoms and are now working on actually identifying these families for the payment of the oil stipend tells me that they are moving quickly to the reinstitution of their currency. In addition, the Sadrist, Sadr himself, along with Salih, the president of the House, and Alawi, the prime minister designate, are all working together and coordinating with the CBI and the Finance Committee. So all of the relevant parties are on the same page with regard to proceeding with the release of the oil stipend. And again, I see no way that can be done without the reinstitution of their currency. In addition, there are still UN sanctions going all the way back to the invasion of Kuwait, which remain in Iraq, and they will not be lifted until the new government's in place. In addition, it's my understanding that the U.S. sanctions, which were to have been reinstituted on the 15th of February, have been postponed for another 30 days, taking us, of course, to mid-March, which is basically saying to the Iraqis, you have until mid-March to get your government in place and your budget passed. If you get those things done, there will be no reinstitution of the sanctions. In addition, it's been made clear to the Iraqis that the U.S. forces will remain in Iraq to deal with the Iranian interference in Iraqi political and financial affairs, and if necessary, to militarily respond to the Iranian militia. As of late, the Iranians have been very quiet. I think the death of Soleimani and now the situation in Iran with their basic collapse of their economy, and now the issue with the coronavirus, their plate is full, and they frankly simply do not have the ability to continue to interfere in the international affairs of other nations. So again, everything being as it is today, and unfortunately it's a continually a fluid situation in Iraq, but given the information at hand today, I still feel that we have a good chance of getting or seeing the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar in country in March. If that were to happen, then we're in really good shape for the revaluation of the currency, because that would probably occur within 30 days, which would mean it would fall into April. April is the first month of a quarter, meaning that if the revaluation were to occur within the first month of a given quarter, we would have more than enough time to compel the IRS and the Treasury Department to give us written confirmation as to the tax status of this revaluation. It would also allow us to hold the dinar and hopefully some of these other currencies, should they come out of the low float rate, to allow them to appreciate further before a tax would be due, which would be the 15th of July. So we are actually in a pretty good position right now. I think it's going to come down to the formation of the new government, but the fact that the Sadrists and Salih, again, the president of the House, and Alawi are working together on some very critical issues is a good sign. That being the case, the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and these other currencies could happen sooner rather than later. And as I've stated before, most individuals that hold the dinar are not wealthy individuals, entrepreneurs with large business interests. They're common folks like myself, and they will, for the first time, have a very substantial amount of wealth in their hands. So it's critical that they have the tools in place to help manage and protect that wealth for themselves and their family. To that end, Trusts Unlimited has put a turnkey program in place to assist you. It's a two-phased program. Phase 1 is pre-RV. Phase 2 is post-RV. Pre-RV involves the establishment of a pre-RV package of asset protection trusts with the assignment of your dinar and other currencies on paper to that trust package. Post-RV involves all of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. But let's start with Phase 1, which is, again, the establishment of a pre-RV package of asset protection trusts with the assignment of your dinar and other currencies to that trust package. There are a number of entities that one can establish to provide some asset protection. For example, individuals can establish LLCs and sub-S corporations. They do provide some asset protection, but primarily by dividing business assets from personal assets. And these currencies are a personal asset. In addition, courts have ruled that LLCs and sub-S corporations owned in the majority by one person or a closely held group like a family are subject to civil litigation. So the LLC and the sub-S corporation cannot provide the privacy and asset protection you're going to need or want. Some individuals have established something called a revocable or a living trust. And those trusts do exempt your estate from the cost and delay of probate and can reduce and in some cases eliminate the federal estate tax. But revocable or living trusts can provide no privacy or asset protection, so they're going to be inappropriate for your needs. Some individuals have established single irrevocable trusts, and irrevocable trusts, generally speaking, would provide the best privacy and asset protection. But there is an inherent flaw in establishing a single irrevocable trust. And it's that if any asset within that trust gets involved in civil litigation, that would necessarily bring your other assets and net worth into that litigation because all of those assets are owned by the same legal person or entity. The solution is to establish a package of irrevocable trusts because that's the only absolute bulletproof asset protection available domestically. I'll get into the specifics of that, but first I want to touch on the reasons why you would need to establish this package prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. So by establishing our package of irrevocable trusts, pre-RV, you would protect your privacy and your anonymity. That's because assets held within our trust package are sealed, meaning that the general public would have no knowledge of your net worth or your actual holdings. Second, by establishing this trust package, you will be able to avoid personal IRS scrutiny. If you are holding these currencies in direct title when they revalue, the IRS computers will probably spit out an audit. And with the potential magnitude of this revaluation relative to your prior year's earnings, you're probably going to be looking at a full-blown 6-year audit. Such an audit would be time-consuming. It would certainly be frustrating because it's coming along at precisely the time these currencies have revalued, and there's many other things you'd much rather be doing with your time. But third, the cost of a 6-year audit would probably be more than the cost of our asset protection trust package. On the other hand, if your trust package is in place pre-RV and you've assigned your currencies to that trust package, you will have successfully transferred the taxable event of this revaluation from yourself personally to the trust. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. First, there's only a 10% chance of an IRS audit if this revaluation were to occur within a rather sophisticated trust package like ours. But second, and most importantly, even if the IRS determines to audit your trust, they can't do a 6-year audit. Why? Because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because within this trust package is a specially designed gift subtrust that we've created for our clients. Now, philanthropic gifting can always be done on a tax-preferred basis, either pre- or post-RV. But in order to avoid a substantial 40% federal gift tax, you're going to need to give currencies to family and friends before they revalue. Now, if you're gifting to individuals that you have no problem giving them the currency outright and allowing them to exchange it for themselves, or giving them the U.S. dollar lump sum after you have negotiated the exchange, that can be accomplished outside of a trust with a standard gift letter. But if you are hesitant for any reason to give these individuals the post-RV U.S. dollar lump sum, you can avoid that by gifting to them through our gift subtrust. Because you're gifting through a trust within our package, their U.S. dollars will be protected along with yours. You will then be able to manage, invest, and distribute this money to these individuals as you deem appropriate. In addition, the specific language of this trust allows you to gift up to a certain amount of a currency or currencies, meaning that you can give to these individuals the exact dollar amount that you had in mind, irrespective of the exchange rate. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it's been structured not only to allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate, but also the federal estate tax. I'll give you 2 quick scenarios. Scenario number 1, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs an estate of $25 million. Now that estate must go through probate, a process that ordinarily can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. But probate is a public disclosure process, meaning that the general public will be aware of the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. So if anyone feels they have a legitimate claim against you, your estate, or your heirs, they can simply file that claim with the probate court. And that could tie the estate up for years, and in some cases even decades. And your heirs will have either limited access or no access at all to their respective inheritance until the probate process is completed. Then there's something called the federal estate tax. This is the tax that the federal government would assess in order for that estate to be transferred to heirs. Under current law, approximately $10 million of that $25 million estate would bypass any federal estate tax. But the balance could be taxed as much as 55%. Now, this scenario is not only unacceptable, it's completely and totally avoidable. Scenario number 2, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, you assign those currencies on paper to our asset protection trust package. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs this very same estate of $25 million, but this time protected in our asset protection trust package. As a result, there will be no probate. There will be no public disclosure of your estate. Your heirs will have immediate access to their respective inheritance, and the federal estate tax will be 0, saving your heirs as much as 55% of their inheritance. The fifth reason you'd want to establish this pre-RV asset protection trust package is for some very specific asset protection benefits. One pre-RV, one post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust package will allow you to circumvent something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. What does that mean? Under our system of civil procedure, you can only be sued for what you actually own in direct title or the value of property at the time you transfer it out of title to an entity like our trust package. So let's take the previous example from before. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. You transfer them to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. You begin to live a lifestyle more reflective of your newfound wealth, and a couple of years down the road, someone sees that you're living rather comfortably and decides for whatever reason that they're going to sue you. Well, this prospective plaintiff has a couple of problems. First, he or she better have a very strong case and very deep pockets, because this trust is structured in such a way as to make it extremely expensive and extremely time-consuming to pursue civil litigation. But second, and most importantly, once any prospective plaintiff learns that pursuant to the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, the only thing they could ever win by way of a civil award would be $5,000, the value of the currencies at the time you transferred them out of title and to our trust, and none of the post-RV value of $25 million, there will be no lawsuit. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop-loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you have acquired this wealth. This protection is accomplished through a legal strategy called segregation of assets, and this is how it would work. Once again, we'll use the same example. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer them to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. Now that you have $25 million in trust, you decide to make some purchases. So you purchase a larger primary residence, a vacation home, perhaps a half a dozen rental properties for tax write-off and additional cash flow, a couple of cars, a boat, and let's say an RV. But as you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate subtrust to be managed by your master trust. This is what we mean when we say we have a package of trusts. Now, why is it that this package approach provides you the best asset protection available? Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say one day you're driving one of your new cars. You have an accident. The accident is clearly your fault, and tragically someone is seriously injured or even killed. Well, the family of the victim is going to want to sue you. But remember, civil suits are about monetary awards, and you don't legally own anything. So the plaintiffs would be left to sue the owner of the car that you were driving. Well, who owns that car? One of your subtrusts of which you are merely the beneficiary. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy. In that scenario, the car insurance carrier will negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family. You will not be involved in those rather unpleasant negotiations. The car insurance carrier will repair or replace your car, making you whole. And this is important from an asset protection standpoint. All of your other assets and net worth are safely protected in the other subtrusts. Why? Because under the law, those separate subtrusts are separate legal entities or persons, and the plaintiffs would have no standing to pursue a separate legal entity or person. So your package of trusts work very much the way a barge would work, where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. Why? In the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and the barge will never sink. This is why we've established a package of trusts. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV, your financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, and manage the other sub-trusts, one optional gift sub-trust, which can be converted to a standard sub-trust at any time, and 8 additional standard sub-trusts to hold physical assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. Now, this package was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, a package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided to work with Dinar some years back, we knew that that price tag would be unaffordable for many. So by basically restructuring and simplifying that trust package, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. There are several ways you can pay for that. If you pay us up front, we'll discount the price further to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. That's not possible. We do have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which sum would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust package. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar occurs, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. With this approach, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for getting their affairs in order and their trust in place pre-RV should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would be substantially less than the $100 a month you would pay us under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Our objective is to help you get your affairs in order and your trust in place for all of the reasons that we've stated. Now, one thing I did not mention, and it's this. If you are, in fact, a holder of one of our pre-RV asset protection trust packages, then you will be eligible to participate in Phase 2, all of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of the dinar. I'll just make mention of one here today. Trusts Unlimited will be sponsoring a post-RV seminar to be held in Disney World, Florida, approximately 30 days after the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Present at that seminar will, of course, be the staff of Trusts Unlimited to assist you with the management and funding of your trust packages. We will also have our tax specialists there as well, because after acquiring this wealth, you are going to need some professional advice as to the various tax strategies that you may need to utilize to preserve your wealth. We'll also have our independent fee-based wealth managers there as well. You're going to want to reposition assets for a number of reasons. First, we know statistically that 95% of all windfalls, however large and from whatever source, are unfortunately lost within 3 to 5 years due to inexperience, mismanagement, and fraud. We also know that under the G20 bank bail-in provisions, the failure of banks in the future will no longer be made whole through the general taxing authority of the respective governments, but first and foremost by the confiscation of funds at the accounts at those banks. So you're going to want a substantial amount of your money out of the banks and at work in other markets. And lastly, the general global shift from fiat-based to Basel III compliant commodity-backed currencies in and of itself is going to create extremely volatile financial markets, and you're going to want a substantial amount of your net worth invested in tangible assets. And so for all of these reasons, we strongly suggest that you contact us and get our initial package. You're under absolutely no obligation whatsoever by doing so. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. There will be no consultation fee, and everything you need to proceed with the establishment of your trust is, in fact, included in the no-obligation package. Now, we are going to go to a Q&A in just a moment, but before we do that, and for the benefit of our newer callers, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about Trusts Unlimited and why you may want to seriously consider contacting us to get our initial package. Again, a no-obligation package. This trust package was authored by our attorney, Robert Bly. He's been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, specializing in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning. I myself hold degrees in political science, macroeconomics, and finance. I've worked in these areas in various capacities over the last 38 years, and I, along with a number of my clients, were personally involved in the reinstatement of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s. So between the two of us, Robert Bly and I have over 78 years' experience working precisely in these areas. Now, Bob and I've actually been working together for a decade in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning. And it has been disheartening from time to time to see people walk away from sound estate planning and trust creation because of the mistaken belief that by doing so, they have somehow lost control of their assets and their affairs. In point of fact, under our system of civil litigation, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them or lose them outright. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is now identity theft. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. Under our system of civil procedure, anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you're anticipating a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre- and post-RV as we understand them. Again, thanks for listening to the call. We're going to the Q&A right now. If you're interested in getting our initial no-obligation package, I suggest you have a pencil and paper handy. 2 quick rules on the Q&A. We do not take service calls on the Q&A. Our clients can contact us by phone or email if they have service issues. This time is devoted to individuals that have questions about the services of Trusts Unlimited. And second, for obvious reasons, in order to participate in the Q&A, your name and number must be on the screen. So I'm going to open now. And while we're waiting for any potential questions, I want to give you our contact information. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. If you'd like to listen to a recent conference call playback, or if you'd be kind enough to refer us to someone that might be interested in our services, you can either go to YouTube and then go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can go to IQD calls and go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can simply dial the same number that you dialed for this live call this afternoon, with the exception of the last digit. Rather than dialing 4, you'll dial a 3, and then use the same access code, which is 739-394-pound. If you'd like to be included on our email list, you can go to our website, go to the bottom, enter your name and email address where indicated. You should be on our email list within 24 hours. Bear in mind that we only send emails out very periodically pre-RV, but once the reinstitution of the dinar occurs, emails will probably be going out on a weekly basis. So let's go to our Q&A. Our first caller is area code 347. That's 347. Go ahead.
Yes, Vivian from New York. Would the virus affect the RV?
I do not believe that it will affect the RV. There is a lot of gray area as to how serious the virus would be. I can see where, under a worst-case scenario, that could theoretically affect the revaluation. But as we speak today, I don't see that as being a possibility at all.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next caller is area code 801. That's 801. Go ahead.
Yes, my question is the reinstitution, from what I was told, is in country. How much time between the reinstitution and, say, a revaluation or the IMF releases that dinar on a international level where people can buy it and trade it and it's listed on the Forex?
Okay. Because of the potential leverage that will be involved in this revaluation, it's nothing we've ever seen before. It's kind of hard to look back at, what's happened in the past. I would certainly believe that the revaluation after the reinstitution would take place within 30 days. And the other issue is, what is the tax status for an American citizen after it reinstitutes in country? We know that there's going to be a tax status when it revalues, but the unanswered question right now is what's going to be the tax implication once it reinstitutes. So that may take a little time to sort out as well. But the best answer I can give you today is it should happen within 30 days. I cannot imagine it happening within 10 days. So I would say somewhere between 10 and 30 days we could expect it to happen.
Would you also say the reinstitution in country and the revaluation are going to be the same amount as far as the value of that dinar?
No. I would think that the reinstitution rate would be anywhere from 85 cents to $1.10. It's really complicated why I have that parameter, but that's what I'm looking at. But if it revalues globally, one of two things, in my opinion, would happen. It would either come out at a rate very similar to the reinstitution rate and quickly, I mean within a matter of a week to 10 days, get back up to north of $3, or it'll just come in at $3. Remember, surrounding countries of Iraq have a dinar. Their currency is worth about $3, and those countries collectively do not have the wealth of Iraq. So if they're going to value the currency at all, utilizing the formula for Basel III compliance, it would have to come in at north of $3.
Last question. Is it important that the government be formed before the CBI will act on revaluing the dinar or reinstituting?
Whether it's important or not, I think that's what's going to happen, because I do not think the international community will allow a revaluation until the government's in place.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, our next caller is, that's area code 312. That's got to be Les.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Right.
Good afternoon, Jim.
Okay.
And
what's up? What complex conundrum you got for me today?
It's an economic conundrum.
All right.
And I know you're the expert in that area. So we have Iran with a virus issue going now. And I read something today where they were talking about, sterilizing the currency. So this germ virus would need the funds to be, what do you call that? I just said it, sterilized, cleaned of any germs. So how does that affect Iran with the virus and all the other crap that's going on over there, including Iraq?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the cockroaches that run Iran are the type of people that would attempt to infect the Iraqis if for no other reason than to gum up the works in Iraq. Well, of course, the solution is very simple, and it's this. Digitize the currency, which they're in the process of doing, collecting the provisional dinar in Iraq. The lower dinars are being held by the bank, so in as much as they haven't been circulated, they're already clean and ready to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. We were supposed to go,
now,
or we are supposed to go digitally.
Yeah. Now, if the virus is a problem, it's a problem. If the currency is just one of many issues that could be involved. And unfortunately, since Iran, of all countries, is the one that has their little proxies running around in all these countries raising Cain, unfortunately, that's not good. On the other hand, it could be a reason for the international community to really put a clamp on Iran and say no travel outside of Iran. We're banning you. You're not going anywhere.
Right.
You know, the people that complained about the extermination of Soleimani, and since I view these people as cockroaches, and that's the appropriate word, remember, he was already under an international ban not to leave Iran. So the mere fact he was in Iraq made him a target.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that, if Iranian civilians are traveling, they're targets. I'm saying that the militias and and the nefarious group are targets, and I'm saying that anyone leaving Iran or China or any country that has a problem are going to have to be heavily screened. That's where we are with that.
Now, how does that affect the stock market? What is it with the stocks that affects because of the virus?
Because they're afraid of a pandemic, because China is inextricably linked to the economies of these other countries. And unfortunately, once again, the Democrats are at it. Last week, they said the Trump administration were xenophobes because they were blocking Chinese from traveling to the United States. Now they're saying that they're not doing enough, that the $2.5 billion isn't enough. It should be $3 billion. I mean, it's just, and they're pushing the market down. It's stomach turning to watch what they're doing. Anything they can do to ding this administration. It doesn't matter what they do. These clowns, Chuck Schumer, if he or I ever get stuck on an elevator, I can't guarantee you that we're both going to be walking out under our own power. I really dislike the guy and Nancy too. I don't like to get political on these calls, but it's part of the process, and that's what's affecting our market. And Trump sometimes with his tweets pushes the market down too. These people just have to be very careful with what they say and how they say it, and they have to be able to differentiate their desire to regain power with the implications of their strategies. And it's unfortunate. This virus could be contained or it could be a pandemic. The problem with this virus is it has a 2-week incubation period, meaning by the time you realize the symptom, you've already contacted 100 people. Okay? If I have the virus, I'm leaving this call. One of the things I'm doing is I'm going to the spa to work out, so I'm going to put my hands on 24 pieces of equipment, and then I'm going to go to the grocery store. So, and if I have the virus and I'm walking around for 2 weeks with it, this is the problem. This is the problem.
Yeah. The Homeland Security dude was on, I don't know if it was CNN or Fox Radio. I heard the recording, or it may have been live, but they were recording, asking him a question about them having respirators for everyone in the country. I'm like, how would he know if they have enough for respirators for everyone in the country?
That's one of the things that's part of the $2.5 billion. And as a matter of fact, his answer was, well, that's why I'm here asking for money.
Exactly. He's here asking for money, and his answer should have been, no, we don't have enough for everyone in the country.
Well,
he was directing the guy.
But he did say that essentially by saying, well, that's why we need the money. We need to procure these things.
Yeah.
So
but right now, as they were speaking, they didn't have enough for everyone, because how would they get them out, and where would they actually store them? These people, these things would still have to be made. I don't see them having enough for everybody in the country.
Well, there's so many potential problems. We don't have a vaccine for this thing like we do with the flu.
Right.
Even though it has a lower mortality rate, we don't have a vaccine. The fact that it, like you said, the 2-week incubation, that really is a problem. It's really you can't track it. So unfortunately, if one person dies or 1 million people die, it's going to be all the administration's fault, and the Democrats could have fixed it. And it's just a shame. It's just a political football. The only thing we can do is what we've been told to do. Avoid crowds if we don't need to be there. Wash our hands regularly. Well, have antiseptics in your own home to wash things down. All of these things. But theoretically, a genuine pandemic is going to put the kibosh on a lot of things, including what's going on in Iraq. But let's hope that's not the case.
All righty. Well, I'll say hi to Don. You say hi to the professor, and thanks for taking my call, and have a great day.
Yes, sir. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, buddy.
Well, that's our last caller for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to call in. If the things we've discussed here are of interest, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. It has a lot of information about us, about trusts, about the revaluation. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you in any way. There will be no consultation fee. Everything you need should you decide to establish a trust package for yourself is included in that initial package. Of course, we'll be back next week. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get an emergency email out and schedule an emergency conference call. Failing that, we will be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for listening, and have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.